Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here on Nantucket. If you haven't seen the show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job, I work as an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell.
It's been an interesting year, but nonetheless, there are a lot of questions around what you can do as far as gifting when you're a senior. So, or anyone, I guess. But Arthur, tell us, so do you have to be a certain age to do this?
No, I guess the reason why, I know we had talked a little bit about kind of doing this show because so often these kinds of questions come up because there are a lot of misconceptions about people's talking this out to kind of explain it. And I guess the best way I could explain this would be by saying, well, let's assume that there's a parent who wants to give money to a child. Let's say my father wants to give me money this year. And he's saying, oh, but I really thought that what would be the effect of that if he just gave me money, right? So the first thing to understand, because I want to talk about the gift tax stuff first, inevitably I'll get calls from people at this time of year, and they'll say, so if I give my child some money, like, do they pay income tax on that, right? And the answer is no. Right? The receipt of a gift is not income. So no matter how much real estate's of more than what is now a little more than $11 million. So when the federal estate tax was created, they did it, I think, like the Massachusetts estate tax, there was no gift tax. So you could literally, if you wanted to, give away everything the day before you died and avoid the federal estate tax. Well, the feds picked up on this more quickly, right? And therefore said, well, we've got to plug that hole. And so the gifts that cause your lifetime gifts to be in excess of $11 million, you can give them as much as you want. You can give them $100,000, you can give them $1 million. That's the reason why the return.
Someone actually keeping track of that?
Supposedly, I think there's some guy in the back room someplace at the IRS that got these big books. And all of our, it's like negative Santa Claus, and all of our names are in it, right? And
Santa Claus.
And it keeps track, of these gifts. And people don't appreciate that. Now, inevitably, when I kind of explain this to people, they'll say, "Well, what about stock?" An excellent question, right? If I give stock, suppose you're my daughter and I want to give you some stock, right? And
okay.
So here I go. And I've got $100,000 in stock, right? And except that I bought those stock a long time ago. I'm a really old guy, but now you're my young daughter. Basis is what I bought them for. So 100,000 minus 20 is $80,000. My capital gain is $80,000. I'm going to pay a tax on $80,000 or about $16,000, right? And so if instead of selling those stock, I give those to you, right? First of all, you don't pay any tax because once again, the receipt of a gift is not income. So you get the stock, now you have the stock. But when I give you the stock, I give you my tax basis. So if you then turn around to sell the stock, whether before or after I die, at any time, if you sell them for $100,000, your basis is what my basis was, $20,000. You're going to have a capital gain of $80,000. You're going to pay capital gains tax, which in Massachusetts, because there's a federal as well as a state one, is about 20%. If, on the other hand, I hold those stock until the moment of my death, right? At my death, that tax basis jumps to the date of death value. So in the stock that I bought for $20,000, the moment I die, the basis of those stock jumps to $100,000. If I've left you my stock, you're getting them with a basis of $100,000. So if I'm thinking about what to give you and I'm thinking about giving you stock, I really need to kind of evaluate because I'm trying to do what's best for you. I'm trying to give you value. Right. So what's best for you? Is it better for you if I give you these stock now, knowing there's no gift tax and you're not going to pay an income tax, but I'm giving you this low basis, right? Or do I want to hold these stock until I die, at which point the basis will jump to this date of death value, and then you can sell them tax-free.
Not pay taxes on it. So, so is that a special, like, how do you set things up to be the day before you die? Or
Well, actually, that's one of the kind of standard estate planning things I talk to clients about, because typically, and by the way, this isn't an issue if or the estate tax spouse, because anything you give your spouse is subtracted from your taxable estate. So it's really people who are planning on giving things to their kids, right? And they're saying, well, I don't want to lose control of my assets, while I'm alive, because I might need these assets, right? But I want to make sure that my kids get them, and I'll tell them, I'll say, well, okay, in that case, you've got a power of attorney, right? You've named one of your kids probably as your attorney, who can handle things for you while you're alive. The power of attorney expires at death. So you may want to tell your one of your kids, right? The person has your power of attorney. Look, if I'm getting sick, or if I am sick, if I'm in the hospital, if I'm going through hospice, and I'm not going to need the $1.5 million that I have, in my assets, in order to relive the rest of my dead, right? In that case, just give them away. You know that the things are supposed to be divided equally among the 3 kids. Just give the assets to the kids, right? Give the stock to the kids, right? Give the house to the kids. Give everything to the kids. Right.
That would have to be when after
day before you die.
The day before.
The day before, because the power of attorney expires the moment that you die.
But
so you're telling him, look, if I'm getting sick, because some people still die suddenly, but seldom. Most people now get frail and then they die. Right. So there's the point at which you're just saying, oh, we're just trying to kind of make arrangements, Ma or Dad is not doing well. And one of the things I tell them is, well, one arrangement that you can make if there was going to be a taxable estate is just give everything away before you die, right? Now, if you're doing that, though, that child may want to be saying to themselves, well, I got 2 kinds of assets here, right? I've got the money, right, which I can just give away, and it therefore reduces the taxable estate. And then I got this other stuff. I got the stock, and this is the most important, especially on Nantucket, I got the house, right? I got the house. And if I give the house away the day before Ma dies, right? I'm giving away the house at the amount that Ma bought the house for, right? And she bought it 30 years ago for $200,000, and now it's worth $2 million, right? Which means I've saved on the estate tax, but as a result of that, when I and the other kids go to sell this house, we're going to get killed for capital gains tax, right?
Yeah.
So it may be that at that point, when Ma's not well, I want to keep the house in Ma's name, so that when she dies, certainly that asset will have to go through the estate, and therefore there'll be an estate tax. But as a result, the basis of the house is going to jump to the new value, $2 million. When we go to sell the house, we're not going to pay any capital gains tax. And that's going to be a huge number, right?
No,
so that's the kind of thing you want to have to weigh out, and it's important. I'm just going to mention one other thing, because I know, so lawyers are like this, you start talking about this stuff, and it actually sounds like it's interesting, but not to most people. So I'm just going to limit to one other comment. If you're a couple and you're dealing with these issues, right, the ideal strategy is you want to make sure that when the first spouse dies, everything is owned by the first spouse, so that everything goes to the other spouse, and the basis in all those assets that are appreciated, the stock and the house, steps up, right, to the date of death value. Then you have the surviving spouse give away the assets to the kids, because now the surviving spouse is giving away these assets with already the stepped up basis. And so now you've avoided the estate tax, and at the same time, you've minimized your capital gains tax. So that's a lot of stuff. But
question. So the surviving spouse receives everything at the stepped up basis?
Yeah. But pays no estate tax, because there's the anything given to a surviving spouse is subtracted from the taxable estate.
And then as long as the surviving spouse gives it away before they die, the value is the stepped up value.
Stepped up basis.
And
Exactly
so,
right.
so what if the surviving spouse doesn't do that before they die? So they've received it.
The bad thing that happens is the stepped up basis is still there. And if the surviving spouse had lived for several years and so there had been more appreciation, say in the real estate, that additional appreciation will also get stepped up, right? Because it'll be that spouse's date of death value. And that's the good news. But the bad news is then there's going to be an estate tax, right? And the estate tax on a house with, and on Nantucket, that happens all the time. You will do these estate tax returns, and it's a $3 million estate and 2.5 is the house, and then there's a little IRA or whatever. It's all about the house, right?
Yep.
So if you can shift the house, if you can get the step up so that you can, avoid this big capital gains hit, but then get it out of your name, gift it to your kids, right?
And so does it make a difference how you hold title as the husband and wife?
Well, the issue is that you want to make sure that the first spouse to die owns all of the property, owns it all. If they own it jointly, then only half of the basis jumps up.
Well, how do you figure that out in advance?
Well, you can't figure. Well, let me put it this way: I think we have a few more minutes. Let me put it this way: the government, the federal government, they're barely paying attention, so they also saw this game, right, that could be played, and so there is a federal rule that if we were to do that, say I and my wife own a piece of property and I'm not looking well. And so my wife transfers the property to me and then I in my will give it to her, right? If she transferred her interest to me within a year of the day that I died, right? Then I don't get this extra step up, right? I get to say that my half, of course I'm dead. She doesn't get my extra step up. She gets to say that my half stepped up to my date of death value, but her basis is still low.
Wow. It sounds
if on the other hand, my will says, instead of this asset going to my wife, this asset is going in trust for the benefit of my wife, right? The 1-year rule doesn't apply. So literally she can transfer her interest to me the day before I die. I can say in my will that this asset is going in trust for the benefit of my wife. The basis steps up.
It sounds like you really need to have a good lawyer if you're going to keep on top of this, doesn't it?
Yeah, on that piece you really do. But going back to the beginning of what we were talking about. So it's the end of the year. If you want to give your kids something, you can give them as much as you want. And if you're one of the kids, don't let your parents use that as an excuse. Oh, I can't give more than $15,000. No, Dad, you can give it all to me right now. So that's my holiday cheer.
Yay! Well, do I get to do some holiday cheer?
I don't know.
Well, I'd like to give.
Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show.
I was going to do a little holiday update as far as Our Island Home goes.
Yes, please.
The staff has been so incredible at Our Island Home. As all of us know, there have been no COVID cases there. They are. The activities director is working one-on-one with the residents. There are 35 residents actually in residence now, and they have really done a great job adjusting the activities and how they operate there to the best of everyone's capability. They were able to get 10 tablets, which they make available to the residents. They had an incredibly successful van ride program going, and they still do, where they put 4 people, physically distanced in the vans and drive around to families' homes and great spots. If you ever see the van, there's a caterpillar observatory. So they are watching caterpillars morph into butterflies. There was a pumpkin decorating contest that the community was invited to join, where people brought pumpkins decorated to an acceptable spot, and the residents loved that. The residents are really prospering at our island home. They miss seeing their family, and their family misses seeing them, but the effort and energy that have been going into caring for them by the staff, even a staff that's strained, is just incredible. So I think we really need to be thankful for the people who are taking care of our frail elders. There is going to be, Friends of Our Island Home generally finances Christmas gifts for that are chosen and usually purchased locally by the activities director. If you'd like to contribute to that fund at all, we have a fund at the Community Foundation for Nantucket that is specifically for gift giving at the holidays. We had a very successful fundraiser this spring, Love Blooms at Our Island Home, where we got over $4,000 to keep the pots and the patio painted, and it's just really, really good news coming out of Our Island Home. They had a Zooms giving before Thanksgiving, where they had a slideshow of what's been going on both pre and post COVID at the facility, and it was heartwarming to see what the residents are up to, and the number of smiles that are around in there. And again, we're just lucky to have the facility here and have it staffed by people that are there. There's still no volunteers being allowed in. They have to sanitize everything, very, very strict and obviously successful COVID-19 rules, but our frail elders are doing great in there, and that's something to be thankful for. So.
And Alison, and so folks could donate by contacting the foundation.
If you go to the Community Foundation's website, you can search for Friends of Our Island Home, or you can mail a check to the Community Foundation. The address will be available here if you'd like. We are 100% of the money that gets donated is spent on the residents of Our Island Home to enhance the daily lifestyle. So, or birthday cakes, or thoughtfully purchased Christmas gifts, things that people actually need instead of things that people want to give. Is what has made that program so successful. So,
and it's the volunteers at the Friends of Our Island Home, like you and Kathy Greeter and many others, right?
Yeah, we have a board.
Friends of Our Island Home, terrific, right? And a real, it's the only friends group I've ever seen of a nursing home. It's wonderful. It's a tribute to the Island Home that there actually is a friends group that supports it. It's wonderful.
Well, that's because it's the only municipally owned, skilled nursing facility in the state. There might be more, but again, we are so lucky to have it and to have to have access to our residents, to our frail elders. It's great. Hopefully, the will be back this spring.
Hopefully. And thanks for talking a little bit about the Island Home, because as you know, that's one of I always use that as the example of the greatest nursing home in Massachusetts, the Island Home.
We just had a board meeting last night, and it's lovely to see the enthusiasm of the board, even though it's been a struggle the last, been a difficult time, but we're ready to go and to do the best we can to enhance the daily lives of the residents. So
that's great. And by the way, to everybody who's watching, like the folks at the Island Home, we've been living through this. It's almost done. Vaccines on the way. Just don't want to get sick this winter. So everybody wants to be careful, right? We got to stick together. We're all in this together. All for one, one for all. We hope you enjoyed the remaining holiday season. We hope you consider giving to the Island Home. If you have any questions on the of course, complicated tax stuff, give me a call. My number is 508-860-1470. Like most lawyers, I don't charge for advice. That's why we became lawyers. We all love giving advice. So we hope you have a nice holiday. Thank you, Alison, for another great year doing this. I really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here on Nantucket. Thank you.